Chris, my friend, this has been the most disappointing adventure.
When your wives suggested couples therapy, do you think that this is what they had in mind?
Definitely. I mean, we're a couple of couples, right?
Yeah, it was boring. It was boring, all right? That's all I gotta say.
Man, I'm so disappointed. I wanted it to be the feel-good film that everyone was reviewing it as.
Yeah, it's got some really good reviews.
It's got a great
critics and people.
Yeah.
Audiences. So we did watch all three of the movies. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, followed by Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and then the new one, Bill and Ted Face the Music.
The first and the second are really good films. I enjoyed them for what they are.
Yeah, they're fun. What I loved about the first one is that it doesn't take itself seriously. And it applies that to many plot points throughout the movie, where a normal movie would say, whoa, you're traveling through time, you're removing people from their era, that's gonna screw up
Yeah, that's
the
going to screw
universe.
up everything. Not only that, but like Genghis Khan and Abraham Lincoln, they're just fine with coming along with you and then going out and hanging out in the
Right.
mall.
All these like realistic problems that might happen
yeah.
just aren't addressed, and it's fine.
Yes.
It's a good-natured and charming film.
That's the main thing, is that it's good natured. Like, there's so few films now that are actually just humble, feel good, wholesome. That's the word. But with Bill and Ted, they're so lovable and likable and humble. And I think that's what separates them from all the other stupid buddy comedies.
Yeah, they're good-hearted and they mean well.
Yeah.
You don't hold their stupidity against them.
No. And I think that's aided by the fact that it's Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves. Young Alex Winter and young Keanu Reeves. Specifically young Keanu Reeves. You just love hearing them talk and just
Be excellent to each other.
it's like, oh, that's feel good.
Yeah, and it's that easygoing attitude that is reflected in the movie itself when it's not taking these plot points seriously. Everything's actually going well for them as they do these improbable, crazy things. It all kind of works out for them.
Yeah. You just accept it for the ride. Like, oh, okay, we're here now. All right, that's
they've
fine.
collected these people from throughout history to come to do their school project.
Yeah,
Fine.
yeah.
Party on, dudes!
It walks this fine line of goofiness that maintains my suspension of disbelief, even though it's treating everything as very silly. It still feels coherent. A movie that would totally throw that away, I think, would lose me a bit. And a movie that would take it too seriously, these elements wouldn't work at all. So I feel like it does both pretty well.
Because I know that you weren't saying that about the second one. You didn't like the second one as much because you got the feeling that it took itself much more seriously.
A little more. So the second one does a lot of things better than the first.
It actually feels like much more of a real film.
Yeah. It had triple the budget of the first movie.
Yeah.
And it shows because it has much more competent effects.
Yeah, they are just throwing them everywhere. But with this one, there's so much more creativity with it. And not just in the sense of the story, but the camera angles, the cinematography, the set design. Like, you get some German expressionism in there. It's really fun to watch. I like when they go down into hell and then they're walking around just like this steel industrial labyrinth of uncomfortableness. And then you also have just these camera angles that are just so intriguing, like just lots of creativity, also really inventive transition shots, lots of that.
Yeah, the shot design was really good. Much more interesting than the first movie, where the cinematography was fairly plain by comparison.
Like, I enjoy that it wasn't just another time travel film. They kept on coming up with different things and doing different. Like, I think that's exactly what a sequel should do.
Yes, because they bring in the hell and the magic and the ghosts. Like, that's great. That's an extra layer that wasn't there in the first one that helps it feel like its own thing.
Right, not like Toy Story where it's like almost the exact same plot in every single film.
Or like
Pirates
Bill and Ted Face the
Oh my
Bill, we've spent our whole life trying to unite the world, and I'm tired, dude.
Yes, but as you may have guessed, we didn't care for the new one. It was not creative in a way that surprised both of us, I think.
The film suffers from two main issues. It's kind of slow to start off with, and you're just kind of meandering around a lot of moments, but at least in the first two, you get to the punch. This one is just, it goes on and on and on, and it just, you don't feel like that you're getting to the meat of what the story is or what is going on or the joke. And that's my second problem with it, is that it doesn't succeed in being a comedy. It's not funny.
Yes, so Bogus Journey introduces a whole new element of this world that made it its own adventure. This one focuses all on their relationships with their family.
And that's where I think it falls apart, is that they start going into these different directions with their wives and their daughters. And, you know, I mean, it's fine if you want to do that, but I feel like the reason why they did that is because they realized that Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves can't really carry the film because they don't have that youthful energy anymore. So they're like, okay, maybe we'll have, like, their daughters do the thing.
That is like a poison pill to any sequel that does that. I hate it. It's the star that everyone likes is too old, so now they have a kid who's like the younger them. And if we make another movie, they can be the stars. Like that is
just
such
go down the line. It's just very corporate schlock where it's like
but no, I have a huge complaint with this though, which is that by taking these relationships seriously, it completely diverts the tone from what the first two movies did. Even in the second movie, they took the world and the characters a little more seriously. Because yes, they have those girlfriends, and okay, they're getting a little more into the maybe not mechanics, but like the world of the future and stuff. Whenever you add extra details like that, it raises questions in the audience's mind that in the original film, especially, but also in the second one, weren't really there. And the fact that they didn't address those things made them charming. And it made it work better because, okay, they have these like proper girlfriends from the medieval times, and they're in love. Great, if that's it. Why do they love Bill and Ted? I don't know. They just do, and that's it, and that's fine. But they go to marriage counseling, and they're like actually trying to explore why they're in love, and sorry, to me, that just loses it right there. Because now you're making me think more about the mechanics of this relationship. Okay, you would think any real person being in a relationship with one of these guys would be sick of them in a week, right? Like, okay, they're sweet, but they're doing these music projects that I'm sure make no money. So they're like broke, not even good artists, right? Yes, they're nice and sweet, but they're really dumb. They probably don't like do their taxes very well. They don't clean the house. Like, they don't cook. Like, what do they probably like to go to McDonald's every night. Like,
yes.
Okay, once you go down this path, all these questions become in my mind, and I'm thinking, this is not good.
And that's the issue, is when you start taking a simple premise and then you start making it more elaborate and intricate, then it starts falling apart. It's the same with like the Terminator films. It was a simple premise, it was a simple idea, and now you're just adding all this extra stuff on it, and now nothing makes sense. And that's why they keep on like rebooting it and remaking it, and it just doesn't work. And you get that feeling with this, like in the beginning when they're talking to them to each other in their garage. It's like, I went into the music store the other day and I was gonna sell my bass guitar. I could get $6,000 for it. And it's like, this is just too heady for Bill and Ted.
Yeah. It's trying to give extra depth to their character, but by doing so, it's raising extra questions.
But I mean, where else are they gonna go with that, you know?
Well, in my opinion, they should have kept things at a base level of the previous movies, which would have kept it funny on a conceptual level. For instance, have them still live with their dads, like their parents.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they still live at home, but we don't question it. We don't make it out to be a bad thing or anything. We just have the same dynamic from before, and they're like 20 years older.
Yeah.
Don't address it.
Yeah.
And have the girlfriends just still be in love with them. Don't address it.
Yeah.
I would add another funny, weird element like the second movie did, where death and all this, like, have something new like that. And they didn't. Instead, they brought in these new characters, the daughters, which I thought were kind of a flat line.
I think
they didn't have their own character. I think that's my biggest complaint.
Is that they were just Little Ted and
they were imitating their parents, which.
Yeah. Although I will say, Little Ted did a spot-on impression. I have to say, I really liked her. I really liked her.
Thea and I were going to help our dads with their music by putting together samples for them.
Yeah, but now it appears we could put together an actual band.
And the blonde girl, I mean, it's forgettable, but I mean, she's a good actress. I liked her in Ready or Not.
Oh yeah. I would say she just didn't fit what the role was asking her to do.
Yeah.
I wish she would have been given a different character. I wish they would have been a little more their own characters rather than just mini versions of, their dads.
Yeah, but there are some fun things, like how they refer to their both of their dads as just dads. Because Bill and Ted are essentially one unit.
Well, see, but that would have been more fun if they hadn't had this whole marriage counseling crap where they're talking about not doing that. Like, the whole thing about the marriage counseling subplot was that they're together all the time. They're inseparable.
Yeah.
And then they learn to have some individuality of, I love you, not we love you, whatever. So if they just throw that away, then I'd agree. I like that the kids would just call them dads. Like, that'd be kind of fun. But to have it in the same movie as this other thing it feels like it's wrong somehow. Like, oh wait, so are you contributing to this toxic family relationship that's going on here? Like, how do you play into this? And they never address that because, like, that's not fun. But okay, why do you address this other stuff then?
Right.
Is he playing hopscotch by himself? Dude, he's cheating. Hey, Dad.
So I would agree that this has the worst pacing of the three, and that each has some pacing issues. The first, kind of near the end, they kind of wrap up the story around like the 50-minute mark, really, and then they have to like go find Napoleon. It gets a little messy a little bit, but it's still fun. It's still, charming. And then second one, I feel, had more so these issues. The first like 20 minutes or so, it's kind of slow. I didn't get into the very first scene in the future. I was worried that it was going to take itself too seriously with, oh, here's the future world, and now there's a bad guy, and but definitely once they die, once they like the other robots, and they find like, then a lot of humorous things and creative things start happening, which I liked a lot. And then the third one, I was bored for a good bit of it, unfortunately.
I only got like a chuckle in there too.
Yeah,
once in a while.
Really nothing grabbed me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not sure where I would say tighten the pacing, because I'd say get a better concept.
Yeah.
The concept of the movie was they have daughters now, and also, remember that song from the first movie that they write a song and it unites the world? That's the plot. So they didn't even have an original idea for the plot. They're just going back to what the first movie had about, the song. But now we have to find the song from our future selves. Like, there wasn't really even an interesting twist on that. It's just, now we have quantum, so we give everyone in the universe instruments. Even that, I didn't find that to be a goofy enough idea to find funny. Like, where do they get the instruments? I don't know.
How is that stealing if we're stealing it from ourselves, dude?
At least in Bogus Journey, when you see Bill and Ted and they're dead, it's such a simple effect, but it gets the idea across where they're just dressed up in kind of like gray paint on their skin and everything, and like, oh, okay, they're dead, and they have some echoes on their voice, like, okay, that's communicated to me. I understand, they're dead. You see them in this CGI environments, and it's like, okay, that's fine. But here's the issue that I have with that, and we kind of talked about when we were watching the second film, Bogus Journey, is that we see a matte painting, and it's just, oh, that's pleasant. I haven't seen a matte painting in quite a while. But in the new one, you see the CGI, and some of it's really bad. You can tell. You can tell that they're on a soundstage at some points, and it just looks awful. And what I like more about a matte painting is that a matte painting can do one of two things. It can either be engaging and engrossing, like, oh, I'm a part of this universe, I understand it, and that's a beautiful matte painting. I can tell it's a matte painting, but it's gorgeous. It adds to the scenery. In this one, with CGI, it's just CGI will either be extremely convincing or bad. Those are the two things. It can't be what a matte painting can be.
Right, and to me, matte paintings succeed because you almost have to use them on wider shots. You can't have a lot of close-ups with matte paintings, or else you're going to be doing green screen stuff against a matte painting, which, like, okay, you might as well do CGI at that point. But with CGI, I think people are very tempted to do a lot of close-ups. Like, oh, we can do this kind of medium shot of them walking toward the camera, and they're looking around, wow, dude, we're in the future, whoa. And it's so obvious to the audience that they're not looking at anything.
Yeah.
Like, you're obviously not in this place. So that shatters my suspension of disbelief.
It's kind of like a Star Wars Episode 3 moment when, what was it, Obi-Wan Kenobi is standing in front of a green screen, and the General Grievous... Yeah, he's just... he's just standing there.
No reaction.
Stone face, yeah.
And they also didn't do as many clever camera tricks. Like in the first one, they actually would have, multiple copies of them on the same screen at the same time. But in this, they just did a lot of like shot reverse shots. So they obviously had other people with other wigs on, pretending to be them. So there wasn't anything fun about the way they shot those scenes to me, which was kind of a letdown, a missed opportunity. And I feel like they missed several opportunities in that way in these movies. Another of which, there's this moment where they're having to dial in a phone number to use the time machine, and the first two numbers are 6 and 9. And in the first movie, they make a joke about that, 69, haha, and they don't make a joke about it in this one. Yeah. It's like, wait, how did you miss that opportunity there?
Yeah, right.
That would be an opportunity to show these are the same guys as they were before, they're the same Bill and Ted, but that was so weird to me that they didn't do that.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Not that 69 jokes are the height of comedy, but like, it's to their character, and it's a callback too. So why not?
It serves two purposes.
Yeah. Better than doing nothing,
Dude, our dads are totally in trouble. You should help them out.
Can we talk about Keanu Reeves?
I want to like him because my impression is that he's a good guy and he's really nice and
I mean,
all this.
I wish people would take pictures of me when I'm going out to get ice cream, and that just brings joy to everyone's lives.
Yeah.
Like, I want that kind of power.
That's nice, but he cannot act. I'm sorry. Like, it's always been a joke. It's always been a joke with Keanu. The joke has always been Keanu's a wooden actor. He delivers like stale, bland performances. They've been saying this about him since he started acting, as far as I know.
You know, I don't know much about Keanu Reeves. Like, I haven't seen John Wick or anything like that, so I can't speak to it. But I don't know. I mean, I can see the YouTube comments. Like, I can see them down there, and they're lighting up. But
Bring it on, because it's true about all of his recent films. I've seen John Wick. He did the voice acting in Toy Story 4. Both of which were very bland from an acting perspective. Now, I think it worked better in John Wick because when he plays a character that is very flat, it works better.
So what you're saying is that he's an Arnold Schwarzenegger. And Terminator. Because Arnold Schwarzenegger...
Okay,
Yeah.
kind of. I could see that in Terminator, because he's a robot, he has no emotions, etc. He's supposed to just be imposing, but like the way he's presented in that is to be imposing and cold and terrifying.
Right, but what you're saying is Keanu Reeves and John Wick, it kind of works with his character because...
Yeah, because he's got this like detached, grizzled old veteran who's not, who just wants to be done with everything, and he's forced back into killing people, kind of. It works well enough. And I think in some earlier films, such as like The Matrix, I think it works there because he's the blank slate from which the audience can experience all these fantastic new things. So yeah, he can play that kind of character. And I think in the original movies, he does a good job with this kind of character.
He does, yes. He fits this character very well.
Yeah, he does a great job in the first two movies of being this like airheaded, dumb teenager. Great. But in this movie, it feels like he's trying to force out...
Yeah, he's trying to force it.
feels so forced. So forced.
Yeah, whenever you see him on screen, it just kind of feels like that he's struggling to get this inner child out, and he can't do it anymore. Alex Winter, the other guy, it just feels like you look at him and physically, it just looks like that he's aged, but his spirit's still there. He even sounds the same. He's like, party on, dude.
He feels like the same character, just older.
Yeah.
Whereas Keanu doesn't.
No, and it doesn't have that youthful energy that the originals had, where it was like, whoa, party on, dude! And then in this one, you see him in it, and it's like, party on, dude.
Party on, dude.
And it just doesn't work for these guys that are that much older. For a Bill and Ted film, I mean, you could argue that, but at the same time, it's just,
No, it feels like an old guy trying to pretend like he's a kid. Like that, hello, fellow kids meme, it's like that.
Yeah. It was bad.
Yeah.
I really didn't like it. I will have to say, though, my one favorite character in this entire film was Dennis Caleb McCoy. That was great. I think that was the only thing that I really took away from the film that actually made me laugh.
Yeah, he was charming. I liked that, he starts off as a Terminator-style character, but then he's just kind of a
It's kind of the same arc.
gentle guy.
It's kind of like the same arc that Death has.
Yeah.
How are we gonna find them, dude?
I don't know, dude.
Yeah, I don't even know, dude.
I just wanted more from pretty much every angle of this movie.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to say that I can't recommend Bill and Ted Face the Music. I recommend the originals. Like, it has the same issues as the originals, but it's just on a larger scale.